Air passenger traffic in Africa fell by 65.7% in 2020 as the global air transport industry witnessed the steepest fall in 70 years. Now, global industry losses toppled 126 billion US dollars for the year as disruption by COVID-19 impacted demand and the number of aircraft operated by airlines. The founder and publisher, Airspace Africa, Nseko, spoke to us earlier for more.
2020 was the worst year by any measure in the history of aviation. And just to speak about the African side of things, the African aviation industry actually lost about $10 billion, and about 1 million jobs simply just vanished and disappeared from the aviation industry globally as well. The IATA numbers are really bad, but what's really even more concerning at the moment is that 2021 is really starting to mirror 2020 as well. We're still very, very far away from a recovery in the aviation industry. Just this past week, the African Airlines Association published a press release, and they were estimating that in the first half of 2021, African Airlines have already lost about 5 billion in revenue. That's half of what was lost in 2021, which suggests that we are moving at pretty much the same pace as the previous year. Yeah, so a recovery is still very far away, but there are some bright lights, no doubt. I think the passenger side is still very much diminished, but the cargo market has really shown that it's the bright light in the industry at the moment. Cargo in Africa is actually up more than any other region in the world, about 33% compared to 2019 levels on the African continent. And this even in the context of the fact that about half of aircraft are still on the ground, which means we're still losing belly capacity. About 40% of belly capacity is still on the ground, but this has very much been made up for in the growth of the dedicated freighter capacity, which means that African airlines, many of them have either converted some aircraft to cargo or have gone ahead to actually buy freighter aircraft to beef up their cargo department.
Derek, you, just like many aviation experts, you must be pulling your hair, and just like mine, there isn't much to pull, thinking of a silver bullet for the industry. 66%, how do you make up for 66%?
Yes, it's going to be very difficult. Just to put it into context, I mean, 2010, which was the global economic crisis that the aviation industry thought was really the worst time ever, was just about 19%. So what this crisis has done is taken us so much further backwards. And we keep referencing 2019, but we really are so many years further back. And it's going to take some years for the industry to recover. I believe traffic will come back as soon as we normalize the travel environment, the restrictions, and the cost environment around travel. I believe it will bounce back, but the actual industry itself, in its size and in terms of the business of the industry, I think it's going to take a while. Industry experts estimate about 4 to 5 years, but it really could be anything going by what's happening in 2021, where the recovery is looking to be slower than had been imagined.
Derek, 1 million jobs also disappeared. Industry losses for the year, 126 billion US dollars approximately, or the minimum. We've seen, some airline associations, United Airlines in particular, came out and said all staff need to be vaccinated moving forward. Do we see this being the approach, inoculation being the only way to help revive the sector?
Not exactly the only way, but it is an important solution for us to get back to normalcy, because the virus is not going away. We have to learn to live with it. And I don't think the coronavirus will ever disappear. It will always be around. But what the World Health Organization and IATA have suggested is that the percentage, the population that's getting vaccinated should be allowed to travel freely, and they should not be held back by the restrictions and the costing around testing. We still do need to streamline our testing regime as well. But for those who do not prefer to be, there's no doubt that mandatory vaccination as well, it should not be a thing. But for those who do not prefer to get vaccinated, that there should be a testing environment that is efficient and is cost effective as well to boost the demand for travel.
Still doom and gloom for Africa's aviation sector. When you see most of the traffic that has recovered in the first half of the year has been to outside Africa, largely to the Middle East and Europe. But Middle East dropped by 71.5% last year. There seems to be something right being done by the likes of, Dubai and Qatar to create themselves as hubs. And that's where a lot of Africa's travelers are moving to at the moment, or going through at the moment. What can African countries do to reverse that trend?
Yes, good question that. Arnold, it's actually quite interesting what Qatar has done in this crisis, which is the worst in history. While most airlines around the world have been slashing their capacity, Qatar has done the exact opposite and increased their capacity. They've, in fact, even added up to 5 African routes to their network, which is quite amazing. Qatar right now is actually the biggest hub in the world. And for African airlines to get back, I think we definitely do need a lot of support. African governments need to support the airlines. The International Air Transport Association has been very vocal about the fact that a lot of funding that has gone to African governments has been held back, which is unfortunate. About 600 million in funding that is meant for the airline sector is still not yet repatriated and still being blocked by African governments, which is a very, very terrible sign.